What would you do if you found out that your partner had taken their clothes off in front of a whole group of people? Today we're going to find out. I'm Leah Carey, schmecks and relationship coach, and today we're here to talk about the good, the bad, and the downright terrible from Dear Abby. Do you swear by Dear Abby or at Dear Abby? Let's get into it. Dressed in Maine writes, my wife went on vacation with her best friend. While they were there, they visited a nudist resort. She admitted she took off her bathing suit and went swimming. I was fuming to think she would undress in front of strangers. I feel betrayed. It makes me sick to my stomach to think that she did this to me. Am I wrong to be anxious and mad about the situation? Dear Abby responds, I would have to know more about the clothing optional resort your wife and her friend visited. The nudist lifestyle is not a swinging singles weekend. It is often enjoyed by entire families, and the atmosphere is healthy. Please get off the defensive and ask your wife to tell you more about her, quote, adventure, which may have been no more than innocent fun and had nothing to do with you. You do not own her body, just her heart, if you're lucky. Okay, before we get into the real meat of my answer, I want to pick a few nits with the wording that Abby has used because I think it is instructive of some of the biases that she brings to this work. The first is that she says the nudist lifestyle is not swinging singles and it can be healthy. So what I read into that is the suggestion that swinging is not healthy. And here's the deal. Anything that other people decide to do with their bodies and their free time is their decision. We don't get to make judgments about the ways that people choose to share their bodies with other people. For instance, I am very dedicated to the schmecks positive community. It has some overlap with the swingers community, but I actually don't feel comfortable in the swingers community. I've spent some time there and it's just not the right place for me. I don't feel like I can be my fullest or best self in the swingers community. That does not mean that I get to say because I don't feel like my best self, then they are doing something wrong, that they are doing something unhealthy. Swinging is just another choice that people get to make. And you might be surprised how many people make it. You might be surprised who in your friend group is actually doing that you have no idea about. The other thing I want to just dial in on for a moment is this idea that you own her heart, not her body. Newsflash, you don't own anything. You own yourself. You get to make decisions about your heart, your body, your whatever. It's sort of like, didn't somebody say, your right to throw punches ends where my nose begins? That's a terrible, I probably got that all wrong. But the point is that you get to do whatever you want with your body and yourself, and I get to do whatever I want with my body and myself. We can make agreements. So I can say, I want to be in relationship with you, and we've decided we want to be monogamous. And so therefore, we're not going to have intimacy with people outside of the two of us. It still doesn't mean that you own my heart. It means I'm sharing my heart with you. It means I'm giving you the gift of spending time together. It does not mean that you own me any more than it means that I own you. Okay, so now let's go into the meat of the letter, which is the question, do I have a right to be mad that my wife took her bathing suit off in front of other people at a nudist resort of indeterminate nature? Thank you, dear Abby. I think that Abby is asking the wrong question. Surprise! I think she's asking the wrong question. If I were sitting with this couple or even in a one-on-one session with just the man, the first question I ask would not be what was the nature of the space that she was in. In fact, the first question I would ask is not about her at all. I would ask him, what are you afraid might happen? What are you projecting out will be the result of your wife having taken her clothing off in front of other people? Are you afraid that this is a precursor of things to come? That maybe she's dissatisfied with your relationship or your schmeck's life, and so she's going to find her jollies elsewhere and not tell you or leave you entirely? Are you afraid that she is turning into a person who you don't know because she's never been okay taking her clothes off before, and now she did? Why was that okay now when it wasn't before? Like, that could be a question somebody would have. Another option, and I actually kind of think that this is the one that it might be. The question is, are you afraid of what other people are thinking when they see your wife unclothed? In fact, I would want to know if this is about her at all, or if it's what's going on in other people's heads, that he doesn't want other people to start having fantasies about his wife, because that should be territory that only he gets to tread. I can tell you, I actually have a personal experience of this. Early in my time working in this field, I was getting ready to do a photo shoot, and because I work in a very strange field, photo shoots generally include some type of suggestive. My goal is always to keep myself on this side of the girl next door line. We are allowed to embrace our bodies and our joy and our schmexuality, but I'm not interested in, revealing TNA. It's just not my thing. But going into this photo shoot, I was going to be taking some of my clothes off to take some suggestive photos. I even think that I did get nude during the photo shoot, but I had like a sheet covering me or something. Nothing was revealed. It was a male photographer. Now, I had not talked about any of this in advance with the man I was dating at that time. To me, it's a professional job. Yes, I work in a very strange field where sometimes my professional work involves taking some sexy photos, but nothing was like, there was nothing actually schmexual about it. I just had fewer clothes on. And the photographer is a photographer who does this type of work because there are people who specialize in this work. And so he's a professional. Absolutely nothing happened in that photo shoot, in the lead up to it or the aftermath of it, that was in any way unprofessional for the setting that we were in. He took his photos. He looked through his viewfinder. He told me, move your elbow an inch to the left and tilt your head in an incredibly awkward pose to the right. And he would take a photo, but he'd never even put his hands on me to like adjust anything. So there was actually no contact between us. So when this came up in a conversation with this man who I was dating, and I was like, oh yeah, I took my clothes off, and he lost his effing mind. And the reason was that he said, I know what photographers think. I know what men think. And so I know what was going on in his head when you took your clothes off. And I don't want anybody thinking about you that way. Why? What does it matter? I got in trouble. I was on the receiving end of a bunch of anger because of what somebody else might have been thinking about me and my body. This is the sort of next most obvious stop on the purity culture train that says women are responsible for the thoughts that men have about their bodies. And therefore, women have to be incredibly careful to never show a shoulder or an ankle because then men might be tempted to approach them flirtatiously or approach them with some type of aggression in mind. That is our fault because we weren't modest enough. No, I don't know why that just happened. But apparently, my video recorder thinks, great point. I have no idea. Anyway, it is not my fault what anybody thinks about me. That is on them. My job is to take care of me in my space. I own my heart. I own my body. Yes, we can have agreements about what we choose to do or not do with people outside of the relationship. So for instance, if we have an agreement that we're monogamous and we clearly define what we mean by monogamous, if you've taken my class about making relationship agreements, you will be familiar with the idea that we do not all define monogamy or cheating the same way. So if we've made clear agreements about being monogamous and what that means for us, then I might well say, okay, it is a sensitivity for you that I not take my clothes off in front of other men. So in some ways, having a body is part of my work. It is important that I be able to, have a little bit of suggestiveness, but maybe I'll always keep my bra on or something like that. Like we can make agreements, but that does not mean that you get to dictate what I do with my body or my time or anything else. So again, if I were sitting with this couple in session, first I would ask him what he's actually afraid of so that we could get to the root of that. Because this whole thing about her getting naked at the nudist resort is actually a mirage of a much deeper fear. We don't know which fear it is. Like I said, there are multiple options. And I'm sure there are many, many options that I didn't even include. So first we need to find out what the fear is. And then we can have a conversation about agreements, about helping this couple to really define, what does monogamy mean to you? What does cheating mean to you? Where are the lines? And what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your ideal relationship to look like? And where do your two visions intersect? And how can we get you closer or as close as possible to that intersection where you both have the relationship that feels really fulfilling to you? Now, it's never going to be 100%. There always are going to be compromises that anybody has to make in a relationship. But having the conversations and making the agreements often makes those concessions a lot easier to stomach because you understand why you're doing it. If this idea of relationship agreements is new to you and you want to learn more, I have a class about creating relationship agreements. That link is on the screen and I will put it in the episode description. And until next time, remember, you're worthy of love and I'm going to help you get there, one conversation at a time.